Well, welcome to What's Broken. Today, it's a Grizzly 600 quad. I believe it's a 2000. And it belongs to my brother. And he told me the other day that it won't start. I don't know how much tune-up it's had over the last 20 years, but well, going to do a little bit of dissecting and see what we can come up with. So far I've taken off the two side covers and the lid on the air box, which was just sitting here. That might have something to do with something. Alright, well, get a little bit set up here and see what we come up with. Alright, I think one of the first things I want to do here is get the plug out. And see if it has any spark. Don't know how well you can see in here. It's all pretty tight. Spark plug felt like it was in there finger tight. Is that going to focus? Plug's a wee bit carboned up, but I'll check and see if it's got any spark. Okay, we'll see if it's got any juice going to the plug. Apparently not. I'm going to clean it up and then maybe check the gap and see what's going on. Alright, so I talked with my brother, the owner, and he said he changed the plug about 2 or 3 or 4 years ago, hasn't done a thing on it since. So the plug looks in pretty good shape after I wire brushed it a bit. I'm going to plug it back in and see if it's got any spark. Okay, here's round number 2 after the plug's been wire brushed. Alright, that's better. Okay, the plug's back in it, wire's hooked up. I'm going to leave the air box off for now and just see if it'll fire up. to take a minute and get all of this off the front so I can have a look at the motor and carb and whatnot a little better. Okay, well, here we are. I took off a couple of the fender skirts and a bit of a, not the bush guard, but a work platform. Got the rest of the cover off and laying forward. And got the rest of the covers off. It does have good spark. And I just love these needle nose hose pliers. I got this pair at Princess Auto on sale. Unfortunately, I haven't been able to buy or find a smaller or larger size. They did advertise on a deal where they had all three, but they were, you know, like many times they're all out of stock. Anyhow, just want to see if the gas is flowing here to start. We may end up doing a carb job. Okay, we got lots of good gas coming out. The next step will be to find out why it's not getting through the carb. I suspect it might have something to do with the fact that the air filter was off its mount inside the airbox. So I'm gonna get the tank off, and then I should be able to get at that carb. I'll bring you back in a minute. So here we are. I'm going to give it another try. Well, it's fired up. A few things it needs. Needs a good cleaning inside the airbox. I'll service this filter, wash it and re-oil it. Looks like the mice started to build a home in it. So I think probably a little vacuuming and a good pressure wash. Right now I'm going to fire it up, let it warm up for a while, and drop the oil, change the filter. Okay, so here take a 19 mil. Oh. Oh. Get rid of the extension. That's not going to help. Oh my. Somebody put that on just a wee bit tight. Try this again. Oh. Oh. Huh, parts falling out. Let's see what we got. Oh, well, that's draining. I'll go blow this strainer out with a little bit of brake fluid. Or brake cleaner, sorry. Clean those pieces up. Alright, I'll bring you back. Okay, so the oil's been dropped. I put the plug back in. Now using a 5/16, probably a metric socket as well, but oh, seems to be working. One. And another. And another. Let me grab a tool. This little tool comes in handy so many places. I took a flathead screwdriver and just heated up the tip and bent it over and then doused it in water or oil to harden it up a bit. Comes in very handy. Now, providing they gave me the right oil filter, I'll get this cleaned up and put back together. Here's the new one. Looks like the same one. The O-ring on the cap appears to be in good shape, so uh-oh. Well, the threads will be well lubed in order to go back in. Just snug them up. Don't want to over tighten. Alrighty. Now this could be a little fun. I'm going to be filling up here while looking down here for the proper level. Should be around 1.9 to 2 liters. Not in the sight glass yet. I'm giving it a minute to run down so it doesn't overfill. Ah, there we go, just beginning to see it in the bottom of the glass. For just a little bit more. Bring it down here. It's about halfway up the sight glass, so right where it should be. We used approximately a little over 1.5 liters. I'm going to dribble a little bit more in and call it good. All right. Okay, so I ran it for a few minutes to warm it up. And it did drop the level once it filled that filter up in every other nook and cranny. And it worked out to about 2 liters. The dealer told me it would take 2.7, but where I read online, it was anywhere from 1.9 to 2.1 liters. So looks like it's good to go. When I fired the engine up yesterday, I could hear a little bit of ticking. And I think I'll just check the valves and see how they're set. So they say on these, find top dead center, you take off the recoil, and there's a little, let me get some light here, pop this out and align the 2 marks so that you're at top dead center. I'll just go grab a screwdriver and then we'll get on that. Okay, some of the online instructions said to just pop the plug out. This is at 2000, so that little plug just threads out. I'm not sure if this is going to focus or if you can quite see that. But there's a mark on the inner wheel that lines up with a little mark right here. There's just a little groove, which is your line-up mark inside the threads, which lines up with a mark on the inner wheel. By the way, this is a 17 mil bolt, and these are, I used a 5/16, but there will be a metric socket that fits those as well. So the intake, according to the manual, the intake are 0.002 to 0.004. pop this out and see how things look. First, I'm just going to get an air gun and blow this out. Okay. I don't know if this has ever been off. We'll try a .003. Feel pretty tight. Darn it. Well, that one feels all right. That one's a tad tight. So I saw a little tip or trick yesterday on YouTube, one of the other fellas, I won't take credit for it. If you don't have a square-headed tool to fit the top of these valves, use a number 2 Robertson wood screw or metal screw. A couple of guys had screwed it into a piece of wood. I just clamped it into a set of vice grips and it fits really nice. Okay. There you go, a 10mm wrench and a number 2 Robertson. All right, those feel okay. We'll get around and try to get at the exhaust valves now. Okay, the valve covers for the front are also 17 mil. We'll just check these. The manual calls for 0.005 to 0.007 of an inch. So I'm going to split the difference and go for a 0.006. This could be a little tricky to film and at the same time do it, so I'm going to check them and then I'll bring you back. Okay, both the exhaust valves feel good, but you do have to put a little bit of a curve in your feeler gauge in order to get in there. So I'm going to button it up and fire it up and see how it sounds. Alrighty, the valves are good. I tweaked one of the intakes a little bit. Just put the covers back on and gas tank and try firing it up, see how it sounds. Caps back on the covers. Back on the exhaust side. Just want to double check the O-ring on this one. Yeah, it looks good. All right. Okay, put the cover back together. Plug's tight. Put a little dab of Never Sees on these. Mainly because we're going with we're putting steel bolts back into an aluminum case. And although these came out with no problem, yeah, corrosion can develop over time. It's kind of the old can't hurt, might help. While we're over here, I'll just check the oil one more time. Looks like it should be good. Okay, it's kind of all buttoned up. I don't have the air filter on yet, but I just want to see if it fires up. Well, I think I'll call that a win. I'll finish oiling up the foam filter, put it back together, and get some of this plastic back on, and it should be ready to go. So all the plastics, or which plastics there were, are back on. 20-year-old machine, so it's seen some usage, but the upside is fires right up. Okay, we'll catch you on the next one. Here goes.